Hi, and welcome to Teaching Your Child's first course on those who can teach their children. It's all about what good teachers do and how they do it. This is our evaluations module, and in it we're going to discuss a broad view of what we're expecting from our evaluations. Later on, we're going to teach you 3 methods to gathering evaluations through questioning techniques, portfolios, and test construction. But for now, we're going to define what we want our evaluations to be able to do.
As a prerequisite to our course, it's important that you read the TYC guide. We've provided a free download link for you here.
In this module, what we're going to cover is what we need to look for in evaluations specifically. That'll be our critical thinking skills, how to present material. We're going to question our style and intent of questioning, and how do learning styles affect evaluations. So why do we need to evaluate? And how do we do it? When we're assessing our kiddos, we want to have focused intentions. So let's itemize those intentions into verbiage to create a better understanding or autonomy of our goals. When we're looking at evaluations, there are a few things that we want them to bring to us. And the first is gaining factual knowledge, terms, class factors, methods. This is a basic understanding of subjects that are taught. This is like on chapter 4 when we discuss the 6 levels of cognitive skills. These are the first couple rungs. An example, a really good example, would be when we're studying biology, we want to just know the terms of the species that we're studying. The next thing we want our evaluations to be able to do are learning the fundamentals. These are the principles and generalizations of theories. So an example would be like if we were studying American history or government. The goal is to understand the basic principles for starting a country. And then we want our kids to be able to generalize history in a timeline. Now, this doesn't mean reciting specific dates. This just means knowing the order in which events have happened. We also want to gain a basic theory of the many different types of government in this example. The third thing we want our evaluations to be able to do is learning to apply course material. This is in their problem solving or decision making. For example, if we were learning geometry, could we problem solve and build something not in conjunction with the lesson? In other words, can they apply the principles learned? The fourth thing we want evaluations to be able to have is to develop a specific skill and competency. This would be like a point of view needed by a professional in the field closely related to the material we're learning. For example, if you were training your children to develop websites or to be an entrepreneur, they would need to be able to develop skills specific to developing websites. And you would want them to be able to find and develop relations with other professionals in that field. The next thing we need evaluations to be able to do is to help develop a skill in expressing selves. This is either oral or in writing. At any age level, if we're studying vocabulary, for example, we would want to see an inclusion of words learned into their written and oral language outside of lessons. Their everyday speech. This will show us that they have a full autonomy of the word that they've learned. The next thing we want our evaluations to do is learning how to find and use resources. Now, you know, as a mom, homeschooling, you have to find and use resources to teach a lot of the subjects you're teaching. Well, we want to pass this on to our kids. When we're evaluating if they've learned something, can they find and use a resource to answer questions or solve problems? There's a wonderful book by Dr. Seuss called Diff and Do for Day. And in this book, there are 2 schools that are being compared. One is where the kids do everything exactly correct and study everything exactly the way it's supposed to be. The other school is a little crazy, a little bonkers, and they have to suddenly take a test to prove that they're learning everything they're learning. Now, the children may not have been taught what was on that test, but they knew how to figure it out. Why? Because they were taught to think and solve for themselves. The final thing we really want our evaluations to be able to do is to teach how to analyze and think critically. For example, can they evaluate ideas, arguments, points of view? This is our last rung on the ladder of our critical thinking skills or our or also known as the 6 levels of cognitive skills, in chapter 4 of the free guide that we give you on the website. An example here would be, can water float? Now, it may seem like a silly question, but it's really, if you hear this coming from your child, you know that they're trying to think analytically. Take him to a museum. Is it art? And how to evaluate that? Studying government. Should we be anarchist, and why?